All right, so let's get started. All right, so let's do our check-in. 0 to 5. What's your number?
I'm on a 5, even though
Ooh,
the students are quite energetic.
they are, yes. Yes.
They're very, very energetic. They just almost beyond control. But other than that, still on a 5.
Okay, good. Oh, and thank you for taking fourth grade
Oh,
today when Miss trying to work it out with Miss Maybell not being here. Thank you definitely for that.
Absolutely.
So today we're going to just go over some things that we're working on. So the last time we set a goal for you to do more turning talks in your class that increase student engagement and that lessens your talk. So how has that been going in the classroom?
Actually, I did that immediately, and that's been going on well.
That's
Simply
good. Tell
put.
me about it.
So basically, we've been covering, it's called a 3-on-2 basketball drill. Basically, it's a glorified monkey in the middle game where you get 2 on defense and 3 on offense, and they got to pass the ball and keep it away from each other pretty much. So simply the defense, if they just smack the ball or catch the ball, they get 1 point. But offense is harder for them. I started off with 5 passes. They have to make 5 passes to get 1 point.
Okay.
Without the defense touching them, then I made it to 10.
Okay.
Then little variances in what they could and could not do.
Okay.
But long story short, we just talking about strategies. So
Okay. Okay.
As far as like defensive strategies and offensive strategies, and of course my questions would bait them into what I was looking for. But I never gave them the answers, but I just gave them, just try to get them to brainstorm the mindset of what you're supposed to be doing on defense, what you're supposed to be doing on offense. And then had them, we'd go through the drill, everyone have a turn to play in offense or defense. And then at the end, we'd sit down and I asked them questions like, what was your strategy for offense? And then they come up with some responses, I listen. And they say, what is your strategy for defense? And of course, I had them turn and talk.
Good.
After that, to talk amongst each other. Actually, what I did, I actually had them talk amongst each other first, and then they shared out. That's what I really did.
Okay.
So, I just said, talk to your neighbor, a friend, or whoever you're working with about your strategies for offense in this particular task and your strategies for defense.
Okay.
Let them talk about a minute and a half, and then they shared out. And I listened.
Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. So today I want to continue to focus on, building student engagement. And I know that during our PD, we're going to be focusing on the question and discussion technique, which also builds up in student engagement. So I found some strategies that I want to run off to you. And just from a student engagement standpoint and a cognitive engagement standpoint, I want you to listen to these strategies and see which ones you can use in your classroom. Okay? Just to switch, I mean to do that. All right, so the first one that I found was called Pick Up the Pace. We're just staying on a nice pace. Sometimes in the classroom we can go a little bit slow, we can go a little bit too fast, but having a nice pace just to make sure we're keeping kids on pace. The next one is provide frequent and effective feedback to students. So providing them with feedback about what they're doing immediately, giving them feedback, having them practice it again so they can do it better from that. Allow students 5 to 7 seconds for think time. So giving students wait time when you ask a question. And at the end of the lesson, have the class summarize what they've learned for that. And the last one is periodically pause to have students fill in the blank. Okay, so I know which one I want you to pick, but I want you to try to come up which one you think you should pick with what you're already doing. So you have them do the turn and talk, and they talk about the different strategies. Which one of these do you think you could add in next for your lessons?
What was the first one?
Pick up the pace, provide frequent and effective feedback.
I'm doing that already.
Exactly. So that's why I say I want you to.
That's why I had to listen to it.
Allow 5 to 7 students for think time. At the end of the lesson, have the students summarize what they've learned and periodically pause to have students fill in the blank.
I like the last two you mentioned. Summarize what they have learned.
Yeah, that's the one I was like, I see Mr. Mutia doing this, because also I remember you saying you have them give feedback and reflection at the end of the lesson. That was one of your goals for before. So I really
Right.
thought about now adding to that, you can have a summarization of what the lesson they learned, and that's how you close a lesson out. You know, you open it up with explaining what you're gonna do. You have your practice in between, so now you close the lesson to make sure that they understood with that. So that was
Right.
the exact one that I was thinking
Right.
about you using in the class. So with that, what does that look like in your class, with you allowing the students to summarize what they've learned in the class?
It's funny, on the same page, I was reflecting over that like the past 2 or 3 days, because I feel, yeah, I'm getting to the end of this lesson, and they gathered as much information and experience as they have over the few weeks. So I was trying to figure out, like, do I want to do a exit slip kind of deal, or I want to do an exit slip.
Okay.
Middle school through just middle school.
Okay.
Middle school. The other grades, like my like fourth grade, which I really, fourth and third grade, we'd just do more of it, just them sharing out what they've learned and sharing with each other what they learned as a class. But fifth grade on up, I want them to write down. I was thinking, like, what is 3, maybe like 2 for defense, strategies, or what you've learned, 2 for defense, 2 for offense. What have you learned in the course of these lessons? How to use these strategies. That's what I've been brainstorming, what that would look like. You know what I mean? Don't know what it exactly would look like, but it's something I want each individual student to be able to write down.
So that's
Something
how you
simple.
would close the lessons
Yeah,
out.
just something
Okay.
simple, give me 2 points of what you learned about playing offense, 2 points of what you learned about playing defense, and maybe provide space where they can share something else that they may have learned in this lesson.
And how would you, when you end your gym class, how would you close a lesson? What would you do when you close that lesson?
In this particular lesson, I would just close it where, as far as just leaving where but understanding basketball, because we are covering some basketball techniques and principles and such. Just let them know this is not all of it. This is just a nice little core or foundational understanding of some of the principles of basketball and how to play in an actual game. So I'll end it in the sense where is that, they go over the principles, and perhaps we have been showing them videos of the techniques we've been learning. Perhaps they show them a video or a basketball game, which they'll see some of those techniques that I've been discussing and that which they have been practicing in class, demonstrating a real basketball game.
Okay.
Just like a short clip, maybe a
Okay.
2-minute clip.
So let me tell you how I would close a lesson in the classroom when I end. If I was a math teacher and I had this class, so if I taught a basketball technique, if I taught a basketball drill, sit the kids down, and I would say, all right, so today we did X, Y, and Z. And then adding what we just talked about with at the end of the lesson, having to summarize, all right, who could tell me what we learned about today? Oh, we learned about this strategy for defense, this strategy for defense. Absolutely. And what is this strategy called? And you ask those questions to make sure they understand. And what is this strategy called? That strategy is called, and you may do, like the last one we said, periodically pause to have students fill in the blank. And what do you use to make this strategy effective?
Right.
And they'll say, you use your right hand, you use less tips or whatever you're teaching them. And say, all right, so that's what we learned today. Then you're going to say in the next class, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. So that also gives you assessment and instruction to see if a verbal, like, quick assessment and say, oh, this is what they learned, this is what they know. And then you preface with, this is what we're going to learn next week to get them excited about whatever's coming up for the following week.
Right.
So that's how I would end a lesson, and allowing them to sum up what they've learned, because you can get some assessment from that to show from that. Like that's like just for every class, take about 5 minutes and be like, boom, in the class, this is what we're going to do. Add it to your reflection. What did you think about class today? That's the reflection questioning that you've been doing. All right, turn to your neighbor and talk about what you think about class today. Share out. Okay, what strategy did we use today? How did we learn this strategy? Now we're building on those question techniques too, because now we're asking those how questions.
Right.
And now we're building that conversation as well too.
Right.
So I think that's
Right.
a good way to how to like close a lesson.
Close it and then kind of linking it into, because that's what I was thinking, kind of linking. Because I was, my mindset was not really closing it, but
No, so
it is a closure.
It's a closure, right.
To that part, that
To
phase of the lesson.
Right. So when I
but
talk
linking
about
it
closure,
into,
just close that lesson for the day. So
Yeah.
that's how when we talk about the I do, the we do, the you do, what we always forget sometimes is the closing of that lesson.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
closing part where we just bring
Yeah.
it all together and be like, all right, so I showed you how to do this. We did this, and then you did this. How was it today? What
Right.
did you learn? What strategy did you learn today? That's how you not close it all together, not
Right.
per se closing the whole
Right,
basketball
right.
unit,
Right,
but just
right.
closing that one lesson of the day.
Right.
So just closing that one lesson, that's also a student engagement
Yeah.
increase as well, because now they get to talk. And
Yeah.
they get to, talk about whatever they did, and the questioning, discussion technique is also in there too.
Right.
So I think that's one piece that we're missing when we're not closing
Yeah.
the lessons for
Yeah.
that, because then we're just ending the
Yeah.
lesson, just cut, it's
That's
over.
it. Right,
That's
that's
it.
it.
That's
Yeah.
it, it's over. So,
Right.
I think closing the lesson is very, also
Yeah.
important
It
for
is.
that too. All right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So what do you think your next action step would be from our conversation?
Definitely develop, decide on how I want to have my middle school summarize overall what we have learned. That would be definitely the first action step
Okay.
that I would do. Secondly, I'm still brainstorming on how I'm going to bridge into my next lesson cycle. So I'm a little ambivalent about that right now.
What's your next lesson cycle?
I'm trying to keep it up with the seasons, and next will be, we're still in basketball season, of course. I could do maybe a couple more things with basketball, but I think I'm at a phase, I'm gonna weigh out student interest.
Oh,
I
okay.
have to-
That was an engagement guide strategy too, student interest. I like that.
Yeah, sometimes I have to gauge student interest, because I don't want them to get bored into it. And
I like that
got
idea.
this, so I like to, so that's why I'm a little ambivalent with what I'm gonna go to next. I'm gonna go ahead and start flag, like concepts of flag football.
Well, here's an
quickly,
idea.
Or
Survey. Do a survey. What are you
Yeah.
interested in learning about? Student survey.
right. We can do it. There you go. That'd be the second thing.
Yep, student survey. Student
First
survey.
thing, close, summarize what you've learned thus far.
Yep.
With the basketball strategies that we have covered, and then survey.
Survey. All right. And then so the other one that I'm gonna give you the last one is what I'm gonna look for is closing the lesson. At the end of the lesson, not the unit, at the end of
each day?
Each day,
Oh
closing the lesson.
yeah, I've been doing that.
Yeah. Closing the
I've
lesson.
been doing it because at the end because that would be the end of the lesson for the day.
For the day, right.
You know, that we'll do the turn talks, and then from there, we'll, if they're on point with their responses and answers and such, then of course, that would be the closure of the day, and then I would lead into, okay, the next time we're gonna still apply those principles. I'm gonna change up the technique of what you're allowed to do for the next time. And then we did have a chance to do that, and we did have a discussion about it and summarize everything about what they've learned and what they practiced, put in practice, and how did it work, and what did they need to do better. So we went through that already.
So real quick, show me what it looks like when you close a lesson, like a practice round.
All right, so they just finished doing the techniques that we was working on, 3-on-2, passing drill, and then I'll pose a question or just the topic of discussion. In this round, what strategies did you use on offense? What strategies did you use on defense? I'll let them turn and talk about what they did and what worked and what did not work.
And talk.
And then,
So are you gonna say what worked and what did not work so they can know what to when they talk?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, when they shared out. And so, honestly, most of the responses were on point. Some of their practices might not have been on point, but at least they understood what they were supposed to be doing, or what it could have worked. And so I definitely listened to their responses and gave them feedback. Like, yeah, that's right. The defense is supposed to be here, and defense got to look left, right, and they watch the ball, things of that nature. Even though it's 3-on-2, you still have to, play the ball first and watch your left and right. What else? And then on offense, these are responses I'm just verifying with them that that they're on point as far as their responses, and then we'll solidify all of that just in discussion. Just listening to them, and after that, I say that's good. You learn how to get to the space. You learn how to move without the ball. You learn how to get in front of the defense if you want to, and so your teammate can see you. And I say next week, that's good. Remember this, and next week I'm going to allow offense to do this and this. So it's going to change up your defense just a little bit. And so that's how I'll close like the last lesson. So this week we're at that phase of I changed the offense up. So now I'll be discussing with them what worked and what did not work, and what did you have to be mindful of.
Okay.
And then to bring closure to that, of course, according to the responses, they'll talk about how difficult or hard it was, or those challenges, and but basically just listening to what they were putting into practice, what they're supposed to put in practice, and give them feedback on that, of course. And then after that, watch a short basketball video real game, probably like a high school game or middle school game, something that they can relate to, and so they can see, how they use your pivot put, how they pass, how they play defense, just to see it in action, so they'll know what we have practiced is something that's actually usable in the game.
Okay. All right. So we have our action steps, which were?
Have them summarize. I still want to have them summarize at the end of this lesson.
Yep.
And then the survey.
Survey and
Closure?
Closing each lesson.
Yep. Oh, closing each lesson. All right.
Yep, closing each lesson. And
All right,
closing, so we have our 3 action steps. Perfect. And I shared the action steps with you because it's my mission to make you all coaching notebooks.
Right.
That I have not been able to make, but I did share the action steps with you because for you, what you're supposed to do is write them down.
Yeah.
But I did share the action steps with you for that. So that you will have them as well too. So
that works.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mutier.